Live from Citizen TV, this is Tonight with Sam Gituku.
Thank you for choosing Citizen TV on this 24th day of April 2025. And what a week it has been as we follow the events of the world and the country. Tonight, instead of Data Point, we'll be speaking to the Pope's representative in Kenya. I'm talking about Archbishop Bert Van Megen, who is also, if you like, you may call him the Apostolic Nuncio to Kenya. He'll be speaking to us about his personal interaction with the Pope and, of course, the events that we've been witnessing at the Vatican and what to expect this Saturday and the Mass tomorrow at the Holy Family Minor Basilica here in Nairobi, as the Catholic faithful have a special Mass in honor of the soul of Pope Francis. But also later on, we'll have the news gang as we walk around the conversations of the week, looking at the lessons from the passing of the Pope and the trip to China by the President and what he's been able to achieve so far. That is later on the news gang. But first, here are the top stories tonight.
Mathematics as a subject should be compulsory in senior school.
A policy shake-up in CBC. Government now declares mathematics a compulsory subject for all learners.
We must hold our chiefs and assistant chiefs accountable in everything that happens in your locality.
57 worshippers from the Migori-based church detained as Interior CS Murkomen vows to hold local chiefs accountable over suspected sect.
Again, we wanted to move our teachers to SHA. We have always wanted them to be in the public, either in HIF when it was there or SHA.
No SHA cover for teachers. TSC reveals the Social Health Authority has rejected enrollment of over 360,000 educators, citing lack of structures. From the SGR extension to the Nakuru-Mau Summit Malaba Dual Carriageway, details of President Ruto's deals with the Chinese government. Our sign language interpreter is Yolan Zale. We begin the bulletin tonight with a major policy shift at the Ministry of Education. All learners in basic education institutions under the competency-based curriculum will learn math as a compulsory subject. Education Cabinet Secretary Migos Ogamba announced the decision following consultations with education stakeholders in Nairobi, admitting that learners in grade 9 would be too young to make a lifelong decision should they choose pathways without mathematics. And as Mary Mwoki now reports, the decision is still work in progress as the ministry announced formation of a technical team to map out the how of the implementation.
In a decisive policy shift, the government has announced that mathematics will be mandatory across all senior school pathways under the competency-based curriculum.
Let's put our hands together to welcome the CS. Karibu sana waziri.
Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba revealed that the ministry, in consultation with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, resolved to include math in the social sciences and arts and sports science tracks while maintaining pure math in the STEM pathway.
Now, mathematics will be compulsory for all students in senior school, and that it depends now on what kind of mathematics, whether it is general maths, whether it is basic maths. We have every learner going to senior school doing mathematics.
The majority of our stakeholders during the competency-based county dialogues were of the view that mathematics as a subject should be compulsory in senior school.
This marks a departure from the earlier CBC framework, which made mathematics compulsory only within the STEM pathway, triggering concern from education stakeholders nationwide. The uproar focused on fears that excluding math from certain tracks would erode students' problem-solving and analytical abilities, potentially limiting their future prospects in an increasingly data-driven world. Now, in a revised directive, the government has confirmed that all students under CBC will study mathematics, but with variations in complexity depending on their chosen pathway. STEM students will tackle pure and advanced mathematics, while learners in arts and social sciences will engage with foundational or general math tailored to their disciplines.
I think it is an important aspect that we have listened to the views of the Kenyans, and it is an important input that has come from the stakeholders, so that we have the STEM pathway having pure maths and the other two pathways having a form of maths, so that we have maths in all the three pathways in senior school. So we love that conversation.
As we speak, we have a new kid in the block. It is no longer CBC, it is CBE. Competency-based education, Elimu Thabiti.
Education officials maintain that the move is designed to promote equity and equip all learners with a balanced, future-ready skill set. A technical committee is now working hand in hand with curriculum developers to fine-tune the newly aligned mathematics courses. With this policy pivot, the Ministry of Education hopes to reinforce CBC's core vision, nurturing well-rounded graduates prepared to thrive in a dynamic, data-driven world.
We have identified which schools can be able to offer what pathways already. And that is why we are saying in the next 1 month, we have been able to know which school has what facilities, and we know which students can be able to go to which schools.
Mary Mwoki, Citizen TV.
Tonight, it is emerging that the Social Health Authority lacks the capacity to enroll more than 360,000 teachers nationwide. According to Teacher Service Commission Chief Executive Officer Dr. Nancy Macharia, attempts to transition teachers to SHA collapsed after it was revealed the authority has no functional structures across the country to support such a massive enrollment. And as Safina Chengo now reports, members of Parliament are urging TSC to overhaul the current insurance arrangement, citing persistent challenges in teachers' access to quality healthcare.
Thousands of teachers across the country continue to decry delayed or at times complete lack of access to quality healthcare, despite a 20 billion shillings medical insurance deal between the Teacher Service Commission and Minet. Appearing before the National Assembly's Education Committee on Thursday, TSC CEO Dr. Nancy Macharia told lawmakers that the Commission has struggled to secure a single insurer capable of effectively covering the over 350,000 teachers on its payroll. The committee, led by MP Julius Smelly, questioned the efficiency and reach of the current insurance arrangement as complaints from teachers persist across the counties.
We advertise for an insurance company. We don't get, I guess, and that's just my guess, because of our size, the number of teachers. No one insurance tenders at all. They tendered as a consultant with Minet as the lead. And that's the best we could get.
Macharia told the MPs about the significant challenges the Commission faced in transitioning teachers to a public medical insurer, including SHA, which she said lacks proper structures to accommodate all teachers.
Again, we wanted to move our teachers to SHA. We have always wanted them to be the public, either NHIF when it was there or SHA. We had a meeting. And I remember again you asked me this question, and I brought that letter to this committee. We went there, and they said they didn't have enough structures.
However, Macharia lamented the inadequacy of current funding, saying it remains a major barrier to providing teachers with comprehensive health coverage, urging the committee to consider increased budgetary allocation, emphasizing that quality healthcare for educators is not just a benefit, but a necessity.
The outstanding balance due to the consortium for the 2 quarters stands at 11.2 billion. If we are not funded by Parliament to pay Minet, the consortium, then ultimately it is our teachers who suffer, because there are some hospitals who are empaneled who, if you don't pay at the end of the month, actually they just send our teachers away.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health has signed an intergovernmental participatory agreement with all the 47 counties as part of efforts to steer the rollout of Taifa Care towards full realization of the universal health coverage.
Over 74,000 gadgets that will be used by over 6,500 public health facilities will be distributed to all our public health facilities across the country. That agreement, over 30 governors, those who are here and those who are not here, have signed, and I'm sure the other 17 will sign in due course.
The implementation of the Social Health Insurance, that is SHE Act 2023, it was agreed that the Ministry of Health to give standardized guidelines for the payment of indigents by 28th of April 2025 in order to enable counties to factor in their annual work plans and budgets for the upcoming financial year.
The development follows a high-level meeting between county governors and Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale, which served as a platform to deliberate on pressing issues aimed at strengthening health systems within the devolved units. Safin Acheng Omar, Citizen TV.
To another story now, President William Ruto has signed more deals with the Chinese government today, among them the extension of the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to Malaba and the expansion of the Rironi-Mau Summit Road. And as Emmanuel Tona reports, the president held bilateral talks with his host, Chinese President Xi Jinping, where they signed 20 memoranda of understanding.
The government's streak of signing multi-billion shillings deals in China continued Thursday, with President William Ruto's bilateral engagement with China President Xi Jinping bearing more goodies for Kenya. During the engagement, President Ruto, who was given a 21-gun salute by his host president at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing on his state visit, signed strategic connectivity development projects. Among the deals inked include the extension of the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to Malaba. The 475-kilometer line is estimated to cost 648 billion shillings and will run through Narok, Bomet, Kericho, Nyamira and Kisumu counties. The over 550-kilometer SGR from Mombasa to Naivasha was abandoned at Suswa area due to budgetary constraints. Other deals signed by the Kenya delegation include the expansion and the dualling of the 170-kilometer Nairobi-Mau Summit Highway. The project is set to upgrade the road from a two-way single carriageway to a four-way lane dual carriageway, significantly improving traffic flow, especially during festive seasons. In 2019, the deal between the government and a French company under a public-private partnership PPP model at a cost of 90 billion shillings hit a snag, forcing the government to look for alternative investors.
We should be able to begin that construction between June and July this year and take it to its logical conclusion. Beyond Mau Summit, we should be able to take it all the way to the border in Malaba.
President Ruto and his Chinese counterpart also reached an agreement to start the construction and rehabilitation of the Nithi Bridge, which has claimed hundreds of lives 40 years since it was commissioned. The Nithi Bridge on the Chuka Meru Road in Tharaka Nithi County has long been a notorious death trap for Kenyan motorists. Part of the options to better the bridge include the construction of a viaduct to eliminate the sharp horizontal curves and steep gradients. The Kiambu Northern Bypass and the Eldoret Bypass are also set to be constructed under the partnership.
We want to build mutually beneficial win-win relationships with as many friends as possible.
The president had on Tuesday signed deals worth about 137 billion shillings in various sectors, including manufacturing, agriculture, tourism and infrastructure, with the government expecting to create over 28,000 jobs across the country. It is, however, not clear how many of the deals the government is entering into are grants or loans. On Friday, President Ruto will visit Fujian Province, a key manufacturing powerhouse, known for its vibrant industrial base and rich tea heritage. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV.
57 followers of the Melchior St. Joseph Missions of Messiah Africa Church in Rongo, Migori County will remain in custody for another 30 days as investigations into alleged cultic practices continue. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has warned that chiefs and sub-chiefs in the area will be held accountable for their actions or inaction regarding the church, where 2 deaths have been reported so far. Seth Olale reports.
Inside a makeshift courtroom set within the walls of Kamagambo Police Station, a crucial ruling was delivered. Resident Magistrate Susan Mutava granted a 30-day detention order for 57 members of the Melchior St. Joseph Missions of Messiah Africa Church in Rongo, Migori County. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has been granted more time to investigate suspected cultic activities surrounding the church.
There was totally nothing that is illegal or that goes against the laws of the country. If that was the case, I believe this is a team that should have been arrested long ago.
Magistrate Mutava emphasized the investigation's significance, calling it a matter of urgent public interest that must proceed unimpeded. The 57 worshippers who have refused to return to their families, declaring Jerusalem is the only home we recognize, will now be held in separate police stations across Migori County. Speaking in Kitui County during a Jukwaa Usalama Forum attended by local residents and administrators, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen delivered a stern warning. All chiefs and sub-chiefs under whose jurisdiction the Melchior St. Joseph Missions of Messiah Africa Church falls, where 2 deaths have already been reported, will be held accountable. Murkomen faulted local administrators for their role or lack thereof in gathering intelligence and responding to the unfolding situation, saying accountability will not be optional.
We must hold our chiefs and assistant chiefs accountable in everything that happens in your locality. There should be no chief or assistant chief who will have an issue happening in his village and he doesn't know.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, who also oversaw a digital registration drive for IDs, passports and vital documents, issued a chilling warning. The situation in Rongo, he said, could have escalated into another Shakahola massacre.
Tumedhibiti ile shida ili karibu itokee huko Rongo, karibu ifanane pia na yale ilifanyika huko Shakahola. Na ningependa kushukuru kwa sababu hiyo swift action ya askari wetu na idara ya polisi imesaidia kuhakikisha kwamba tumeshika wale wote ambao wamehusika.
The cabinet is now expected to adopt the recommendations of the Mutava Musimi-led task force, a team tasked with probing religious institutions and proposing a framework for their regulation. Once approved, the task force finding will form the basis of a bill set to be tabled in Parliament, aimed at bringing order and oversight to Kenya's increasingly unregulated religious space.
Tutafuata hizo maagizo ya jobokazi hiyo, lakini pia sisi tutahakikisha kwamba security team wakuwe alert kwa kila mahali.
Both regional and national security remain key for the Interior Ministry, which is calling upon the local administration to assure that it collaborates with the community to ensure that security is beefed up. Seth Olale, Citizen TV, Kitui County.
Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, will represent President William Ruto at Saturday's funeral of Pope Francis at the Vatican. The Speaker led members of Parliament in signing the condolence book at the Vatican Embassy here in Nairobi. Several leaders, including former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, joined the team from Parliament in paying tribute to the departed Pope. And as that happened locally, mourners remained in queue at the St. Peter's Square to pay their last respects to the late pontiff as he lies in state. Brenda Wanga reports.
A section of MPs led by the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula arrived early at the Apostolic Nunciature to pay tribute to the fallen Pope. The leaders were joined by the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga as they paid tribute to the fallen Pope.
Which really
The leaders, hosted by the Pope's representative in Kenya, reminisced about the leader of the Catholic Church who once visited Kenya early in his papacy.
In 2015, Pope Francis visited Kenya, and he left an indelible mark on the minds of Kenyans. The first Pope outside Europe, and we as being in Africa felt that he was even closer to us.
When he came here, he was a very simple person. And he met and talked with people, all walks of life. He was a very charitable person.
The late Pope was eulogized as a humble, humane Pope who looked out for others, especially the downtrodden in society.
As a House of Parliament, we stand with you as the representative of our Pope in mourning this tragic loss. Our president is out in China. He has nominated me and instructed me to represent him at the burial of the Pope on Saturday.
And each time there is trouble or problems anywhere in the world, he has been a voice of reason. He has spoken for the downtrodden, he has spoken for the oppressed, whether it was in Indonesia, whether it was in Gaza, whether it was in Mexico, wherever it was, he has spoken very strongly against injustice.
In Nyeri County, priests, deacons, seminarians, and members of the religious community and hundreds of Catholic faithful congregated at the Catholic Diocese of Nyahururu to celebrate a Mass in honor and remembrance of the late Pope. They remembered him for his humility, service, and for being an inspiration to many.
Baba Mtakatifu ametuonyesha haya ya kwamba it is so beautiful and joyous to live as a family, to live together in peace, sharing together.
While the tributes continued to pour here in Kenya at the Vatican, the second day of the public viewing of his mortal remains saw hundreds of thousands of faithful and pilgrims file past his coffin at the St. Peter's Basilica. The basilica remained open overnight on Wednesday and was equally opened early Thursday to accord as many of the faithful a chance to view his body. The public viewing will conclude Friday evening before the coffin bearing the remains of the Pope is sealed ahead of the burial on Saturday. According to Catholic rites, 12 coins will be placed in the coffin before it is sealed, each of the coins corresponding to the year they were minted during his reign. As the mourning continues, the process of selecting the next Pope is currently underway. The third General Congregation was held this morning at the Vatican, bringing together 113 cardinals. Another one will take place tomorrow. The general congregations are a series of meetings that take place in the days before a conclave starts and where a profile of the qualities needed for the next Pope takes shape. As Kenyans continue to join the rest of the world in marking the passing of Pope Francis, there will be a special Mass celebrated tomorrow at the Holy Family Basilica that will give Catholics from Kenya a chance to celebrate the man they fondly refer to as the People's Pope. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV, at the Vatican Embassy in Nairobi.
Right, and here with me in studio is the Pope's representatives in Kenya. He's also the Apostolic Nuncio for South Sudan, Archbishop Van Megan. Good evening.
Good evening, Sam.
And it's good to see you here. And first, condolences again for the loss of Pope Francis.
Thank you.
And a lot of Kenyans continue to remember this pontiff. For you, what will you remember of him, even as you tell us about the processes that you are going through now ahead of the funeral on Saturday?
Of course, for me, Pope Francis was the first pontiff with whom I worked as a nuncio. He was the one who appointed me in my first position as an ambassador in Khartoum, and he was also the one who sent me to Kenya and to South Sudan. By the way, I resigned from South Sudan about half a year ago.
Oh, okay.
So, and in that sense, being a nuncio, you have a bit this privilege of having a frequent contact with the Holy Father. Normally that is once a year, or if there are special occasions, even twice, if not 3 times a year. And of course, through that, you're able also to build up a relatively, I would say, personal or close relationship with the Holy Father. And the Holy Father has always been very interested in the life of the Church and also of the different states in Africa.
Mm-hmm. And as you talk about that appointment, perhaps you can help us get into how do you qualify to be named an apostolic nuncio?
You try to behave very well. You study very hard.
Yeah.
So actually, I was a parish priest in the Netherlands. I'm from the Netherlands originally. And it was actually my own bishop who asked me whether I would like to join the diplomatic service of the Holy See. That's many years ago, because Rome had asked for a priest from Holland, and I came out of that process. They had been thinking of me already for some months without me knowing it. Mm-hmm. And so then you go to Rome, you do again a few years of studies in Rome. There is an academy which prepares diplomats for the Holy See, because our Holy See, as the Church is very international. For example, in my time, there were 36 students of 16 nationalities. And so you study together, live together, study Italian, like me. I had to study Italian, other languages. You do issues like foreign relations, international law, canon law. And then after 3-4 years, depending on how many years you needed, you are sent out for your first diplomatic posting.
Mm-hmm. So as you talk about that, you know, Kenyans know the relationship between Kenya and other countries. And we'll be talking about bilateral relations, matters of democracy. For you, the Holy See is different. It's not like any other country. What is the description of your duties look like?
Well, of course, we are not like other countries. At the same time, also a nuncio maintains his contacts with the government to which he is accredited. And also there, it can be, maybe not so much in Kenya, but as I worked in Sudan, it can be on issues, for example, of religious freedom. It can be on the facilitation of the work of the Church. Think about how can the government help us in further developing schools or hospital? How can they facilitate that? So that is one part of the story. The other part of the coin is representing also to the local church. For example, the bishop appointments in Kenya, mm-hmm. and in other countries, by the way, yeah. They go through the apostolic nunciature. So we do the vetting process for different candidates. Then that is reported to the Holy See, and depending on our reports, the Holy Father takes then a decision on who is going to be a bishop in a certain diocese, for example.
That's interesting. And so maybe more particularly on the relationship now between the Embassy of Vatican and the Kenyan government. How does that look like?
Actually, like any other embassy, like I'm Dutch, in the sense I have the same relationship with the government as the Dutch embassy would have. Of course, we don't have any economic interests, if not selling maybe some rosaries here and there. We don't have any strategic interest because our Swiss guards are not that big that they can move around everywhere. But once again, it is very much on questions of justice and peace, and human rights, those kind of issues that we would discuss with the government.
Okay. All right. Archbishop, we'll get back to this conversation to even understand more about the legacy of Pope Francis, but also what will be happening tomorrow and Saturday at the Vatican. By the way, will you be going to the Vatican for the funeral?
No, for the ambassadors, they have to remain on their posting.
So, okay, all right. We'll get back to the conversation shortly from now, but first let's take a break, actually. We'll be back with the conversation and more stories this evening.
Actually, I enumerated here a number of inconsistencies.
I ended the relationship. Former Migori Governor Obado continues to testify in the Sharon Otieno murder trial.
In the heart of Kenya's fertile farmlands, our story begins. Harvested with care, our maize is transformed using state-of-the-art milling technology, ensuring every grain is perfect for your table. Crafted by hand, prepared with love, and shared with joy. From farm to family, every bite is a celebration of togetherness and moments that matter most. Mfalme Ugali, pure taste, pure value, from farm to plate.
Get business credit card from Cooperative Bank and pay for business stock and supplies on credit instead of using your own money. You can make payments in Kenya, abroad, and online. Craving an extraordinary escape? View Travel invites you to breathtaking Cape Town. Starting from $1,300 per person sharing, enjoy 4 nights with breakfast plus Cape Town City Tour, cable car ride up Table Mountain, full-day Peninsula Tour, scenic Chapman's Peak Drive, Cape of Good Hope, photo stops at Bokap and Muizenberg, Constantia Wineland Estate Tour. View Travel, your gateway to Cape Town's wonders. Visit viewtravel.com or call and WhatsApp 0703-254-254. View Travel. Dream. Explore. Discover.
Haro, atikufika mnafika na msimami. Sasa nitapika nini cha haraka? Unga kabagara chap chap.
Aya, kwani kumhendaje mama?
Mbaki hapo kuuliza.
Huyo ni sasa amepita ndukinduki.
Uzuri wa Raha Premium Kavagara, dakika 5 tu ugali imeiva. Ati mtoke kwangu kama hamchakura.
Hali shoshkwa ni imeiva haraka aje.
Kuletea Kavagara nayo. Kila kitu kiko sawa na Raha Premium.
As a parent, our biggest aspiration is to see our children succeed. But with this dream lies a weight of responsibility. At DTB, we understand the challenges you face and are here to help you ease the burden of educational costs. By requiring no collateral and offering flexible repayment options, our school fees loan provides up to 1 million shillings to give your child the chance to pursue their dreams. Bank on us for their future and apply for a school fees loan today. SMS fees to 23359 or visit any of our DTB branches today for more information. DTB. Bank with us, bank on us.
Ever wonder what it feels like to have a squad taking care of your every need? This is me, Clint. From the moment I wake up, I've got someone taking care of all my financial needs. Personal or business. That's right, a whole squad. Introducing the Loop Squad. Where I go, they go. It's not an app. It's a lifestyle. Get your own Loop Squad today and simplify your life. Why wait? Loop it.
And we need 2 Royco cubes because iron gives you strength to skuma yourself to be the best you can be.
From the makers of Kenya's biggest fitness show, Slim Possible, comes the ultimate fitness experience, Royal Fitness. One day, one mission, a stronger, fitter you. Come sweat it out with us. Whether you're just starting your fitness journey or looking for the ultimate challenge, this event is for you. Join us for the action-packed day featuring Zumba, Taibo, HIIT, high energy group challenges, and so much more. Feel the burn, test your endurance, own your strength. It's all happening on the 3rd of May at Sadili Oval, Langata. Royal Fitness, reign over your health. Tickets only 1,000 Kenya shillings. On view tickets, just dial *487*26#. Don't miss it.
Ukishatoka kwa molding machine naenda kwa maji, final cooling. After final cooling sasa unafanya quality check. Angalia kama product iko sawa.
Your kids are my children. And I will do anything to make you happy.
At Global Tilapia, from the clean waters of Lake Victoria, enjoy crispy fish fingers, tasty fish nuggets, convenient ready-to-eat fish, and juicy fish balls. Taste the difference.
Welcome back. You're still watching Tonight, and we are with the Pope's representative in Kenya, and that is Archbishop Bert Van Megen. Your name is quite difficult.
Yeah, you pronounce it quite well, I would say.
Okay. All right. You were telling me about the role of you as an ambassador of the Holy See, and you've had quite a bit of missions here in the region, actually in Africa. But in the region, what has been your experience, and how does that relate to the work of Pope Francis?
In the larger region, you might say, as you mentioned at the beginning of our interview, I'd been the nuncio in South Sudan. I've also been the nuncio in Khartoum. I nearly spent 10 years of my life in Khartoum. And Sudan and South Sudan are both countries with challenges, let's put it like that. And especially this Pope Francis had a special interest in South Sudan. This Pope, maybe you have noticed that a bit, this Pope Francis had a special attention for what he would call the periphery. People who live at the periphery, I mean, poor people, refugees, drug addicts, prostitutes, that is all periphery, but also geographically and in terms of development. And surely then South Sudan is one of them. So he had always a very special interest for that country. And he had always been looking forward to a visit to South Sudan. And I'm not sure whether you remember, but we had to postpone that visit once and then twice, also because of his health. And then finally, in 2023, we were able to get there. And that for him, that was really a dream come true. He wanted to do that. And that was something which he wanted to achieve, even though already at that time, he didn't feel very well, frankly speaking. So.
Right. And as you said that, when you look at his life, what would you say has informed the sort of work he did and the style that he deployed? Is it his Jesuit foundations? Is it the region he came from in the world? What would it be?
Yes, I think both, by the way. Of course, he is Argentinian. Then he was called, or he felt the call to become a Jesuit in 1953, if I'm not mistaken. And he felt that was a call of a God who was very merciful with him, who was able to forgive him for his sins or mistakes or weaknesses, and in spite of all that was ready to take him, so to say. In fact, the slogan, the motto, which is under his coat of arms, Misericordiando et eligendo, means as much as, while being mercy, you were chosen. So to say, I did that out of a grace. He felt that as a grace. So that attitude, which he felt, that privilege, that grace which he received from God, the way he felt it, that was also something which he wanted to give to others again. So therefore also there was this attitude in him of being merciful with others and to say, I know there are problems in your life, I know you're struggling, I know that maybe even according to the rules of the church, you shouldn't even be with us, but I choose you. You remain with me. That was typically Pope Francis.
Right.
And then there were two influences. So that was a very personal aspect. And then there was the influence, of course, as you mentioned, of the Jesuit spirituality. A word which comes back, returns many times in his speeches would be discernment, which is typically just the Jesuit Ignatian to say discernment is, I try to, in my prayer, to feel what is the right decision? How does the Holy Spirit move in my heart so that I may take the right decision in my life. That is discernment. And then on the other hand, he was also a political man. And he was very much influenced by the political situation in Argentina, by Peronism, by Juan Perón, who had been one of the presidents in Argentina, who had developed a kind of, there's a bit of discussion how to call it, but I would still say kind of socialism, socialist system. And Bergoglio at that time, Bishop Bergoglio, identified very much with that system, the system of El Pueblo, of the people.
Right.
It is the people who are in charge. We serve the people. We are here for the people. And the people for Perón and also for Bergoglio was the working class, the people who work. So to say, in a sense, you might even say you can only be a member of the people at the moment that you work. Sure. That you produce something, and that you produce as much as you want to consume. So there was the thing of you have to work, a working mentality. And that is something which was also very strong in Pope Francis. That was a man who worked day and night.
Let's talk about, because when you have world leaders, especially those that head governments, they will relate with other countries with certain conditions. And if you don't follow those conditions, then there would be sanctions. The Pope has been speaking quite strongly against the ills or the vices that exist in the society, whether it's about corruption, it's about hurting the poor. But then, even if you to reflect on his message when he was in Kenya in 2015, there's no clear way of monitoring whether what he has shared as his message is being implemented. How does that leave the church?
I do think, and I would say especially again in the last years, that the church is following up more keenly on issues of corruption, of the preferential option for the poor, more attention for the youth. That is something, I have to say, where the church in Kenya at times also still has to grow. But where I feel that especially nowadays they are picking up much more on that than maybe some years ago. And also very much influenced once again by Pope Francis. I feel, and you know, that is also a personal witness, I feel, is that of course, there has always been in the church that awareness that Christ lives in the poor, and Christ himself was born into a poor family, and that we have to fight oppression. It's about education, it's about human values. By the way, even about the right of the women, you know. All that existed already in the church. But many times, it went a bit on the back burner. People would forget about it. Right. Now, what Pope Francis did is he brought it into the front again. And he started to underline this. There's not one speech in which these kind of issues would not come up. And he would repeat it ad nauseam, as they would say in English, that you would get sick of it, so to say, as a free translation. But I think that was really the message, the core message of his pontificate, which came also, by the way, from his own background. If you read his biography, there's a biography, an autobiography that came out at the beginning of this year, actually just 2 months before his passing away now, Spera, which means as much as hope, in which he explains that he is from this Italian migrant family. His grandparents came from Piemonte, which is northern Italy, traveled all the way to Argentina at the beginning of last century. And they had to start from scratch. There was nothing. They were poor, and they had to start from the bottom, so to say. And so he feels very much, therefore he identifies also very much with refugees and poor, and with the people, with the working class who have to struggle to keep their head above the water.
And now, of course, there would be a succession because the church has laid out the process that is supposed to be followed. And you must have seen even some of the print media talking about time for an African Pope. Is this a legitimate expectation? Is it even possible from how you know the church?
Is it a legitimate expectation? Sure, very much. I feel, actually, we had a discussion with somebody in Holland, a friend of mine who's a journalist there yesterday. And in fact, we had that same discussion even with the Pope a year and a half, 2 years ago, where I put it to him, said, Your Holy Father, you know, we have to start thinking about this. let's say at the moment, probably about 1/3 of the Catholics in the world are from Africa. But if I look to Rome and to the Roman Curia, I don't see that kind of representation within the Curia. The Curia, though they are opening up, there are more Africans than before, there are a bit more Asians than before, but it's still very slow.
Right.
In many ways, that Curia is white. And I do feel that we need to have this kind of proportional representation. And that in that context, it should also be possible to have an African Pope. Is that going to happen this time around? My bet is as good as yours, or yours is as good as mine. That is very difficult to guess that at the moment.
Right.
Actually, when we had the last conclave, where at the end Pope Francis came out, I had put my bet very strongly on Cardinal Turkson from Ghana, whom I know personally. Nowadays, having learned my lesson, let's put it like that, I become a bit more careful.
Okay. And Kenyans have also been asking, because we won't have a cardinal voting, bearing in mind that Cardinal John Jue is above the age of 80. We have not had an appointment recently, of course, by Pope Francis. What does that say, and what does it take to have a younger cardinal appointed in a country?
You know, even to a nuncio, up to a certain extent, that is a mystery, because we are not involved.
Yeah.
I have no clue that works in many ways through very direct lines. What happened, for example, with Pope Francis was at times a bishop would go to Rome very innocently. He might have an appointment with the Holy Father on some issues. He leaves. And the Holy Father is so fascinated by that bishop, sees so many qualities in him, and says, okay, that guy is going to be a cardinal. And we are, as a nunciature, we are the last ones to hear that. We hear it from the radio or the TV. It's really a privilege, a prerogative of the Holy Father to appoint that directly. And so I would be, of course, being nuncio in Kenya and being very much in favor of the Catholic Church in Kenya and identifying very much with that church, I would be very much in favor of a new cardinal in Kenya. And I could mention you 2-3 names, which of course I'm not going to do. But we hope maybe that with a new Pope, we will get that.
Okay, all right. And of course, we'll be watching that process of electing a new Pope, which should happen, they say, about 2 weeks or so after the funeral?
Yes, so the funeral is tomorrow. Normally, the counting goes from the death of the Pope. 15 days to 20 days after the death of the Pope, the conclave should start.
Okay.
Now, probably it's going to be the 5th of May. Then the conclave would start, the meeting of cardinals there in the 16th chapel. So if everything goes well and the conclave is not too difficult, then you would expect within 2-3 days a new Pope.
Okay.
So by the 8th or the 9th.
All right. Thank you so much. We have to leave it at that. Archbishop Bert van Megen, thank you for making time for us. And of course, all the best as you preside the Mass tomorrow at the Holy Family Manor Basilica in honor or to pray for the soul of Pope Francis. Thank you again.
Santini.
To another story now, the government has announced plans to appeal a recent High Court judgment that declared the Police Reforms Task Force, led by former Chief Justice David Maraga, unconstitutional. Interior Principal Secretary Dr. Raymond Omolo says the ministry remains committed to implementing certain aspects of the task force report, arguing that the court did not invalidate all its recommendations. The report by the National Task Force on Police Reforms proposed far-reaching reforms to the National Police Service. Our Citizen TV's Ben Kirui now reports.
Despite the High Court ruling slamming the brakes on the implementation of the Maraga-led task force report, the steering committee behind the proposed changes is racing to secure implementation of key recommendations. Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo maintains that the government respects the court's decision, but argues that not all aspects of the report were invalidated.
And that court decision challenged the constitution of the task force, but it primarily focused on the role of the National Police Service Commission. And out of the 271 recommendations that came, 16 of those recommendations are the ones that were actually challenged.
High Court ruling by Judge Lawrence Mugambi declared that the formation of the 23-member presidential task force established to review the welfare of police officers was unconstitutional. The judge ruled that President William Ruto acted unlawfully by bypassing the National Police Service Commission, the constitutionally mandated body for such reforms. As a result, any actions or decisions made by the task force, chaired by retired Chief Justice David Maraga, were deemed null and void.
What we have agreed on is that we respect the decision of the court, and more so insofar as those 16 recommendations are concerned, and we will be pursuing redress through the court process to address those 16 recommendations. And what it means that out of the 571 recommendations, the rest of the other recommendations, we will continue with their implementation.
The ministry appears undeterred and impatient to even await the outcome of the appeal, with the PS announcing that 50% of the report has already been adopted.
Another 20 to 30%, we are in the process of rolling them out. And the balance of that are issues that we are seeking for further policy guidance and direction.
This move has raised concerns over the government's commitment to honoring judicial authority, a trend critics say has become a recurring theme under President William Ruto's administration. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now to the story, former Migori Governor Okoth Obado told the High Court that he continued to support slain Rongo University student Sharon Otieno even after their romantic relationship ended in March 2018. Testifying before Justice Cecilia Githua, Obado presented personal text messages to counter claims that he orchestrated her murder due to her pregnancy. The court also granted more time to the second co-accused person to present his witnesses, adjourning the case until May. Willie Lusige was there.
Appearing before Justice Cecilia Githua for the second day of his defense, former Migori Governor Okoth Obado was firm in denying any involvement in the murder of Rongo University student Sharon Otieno. Obado tendered personal text messages exchanged between him and Sharon in an attempt to counter the prosecution's claim that he orchestrated the murder due to discomfort over her pregnancy.
The late Sharon.
In his defense, Obado painted a picture of a relationship that began on friendly terms but faltered due to inconsistencies.
Started as friends, but now the inconsistencies. But we had agreed on the way forward generally that if she was carrying that child for me, I wanted to be a responsible person.
He emphasized that despite ending the relationship, he continued to support Sharon both emotionally and financially.
Even after terminating the relationship, I was still giving her money for her welfare. That means even for the welfare of the child that she was carrying for me.
Obado also disclosed that he had plans to help Sharon settle independently, a transition that he facilitated, explaining that there was no bad blood between the two. His aim was to invest in her future by offering financial assistance.
But I had plans of settling her, including looking for land to build for her a house.
The former governor denied assigning illegal duties to his co-accused, his personal assistant Michael Oyamo and Caspar Obiero, a clerk in Migori County. He further explained that during the Council of Governors meeting in Nairobi in 2018, he was alone, as such events do not permit governors to bring staff. The High Court accepted the Defense Counsel's request to allow the second co-accused in the Obado case more time to present his witnesses.
Allow an adjournment to the date set in May. That would be the 19th to the 23rd.
The former county boss is a suspect in the murder of Sharon Otieno, a university student whose lifeless body was found in a thicket on 4th day of September 2018. Sharon, who was expectant, also had her child killed as it was discovered that she had suffered stab wounds to her stomach. Willie Lusige, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki says he will engage the control of budget to eliminate confusion around current bursary disbursements, which the court stopped. Speaking in Nakuru during an inspection tour of Dundori Market in Bahati constituency, Kindiki warned that the push to combine all student bursaries into a single national fund will disadvantage them. Control of Budget Margaret Nyakango had in January instructed devolved units to halt the withdrawal of funds for bursary schemes covering primary, secondary and tertiary education, stating that the county government's mandate extends to the pre-primary level.
Viongozi mbalimbali hawapaswi kuzuiliwa kupeana basari. Kama kuna basari inakuja kupitia ofisi ya MCA, ipeanwe. Ile inakuja kupitia mbunge, ipeanwe. Ile inakuja kwa ofisi ya governor, ipeanwe. Ile inakuja kupitia Ministry of Education, ipeanwe. Controller of Budget will engage with that office to make sure that bursary issues are streamlined.
Na sisi maendeleo ambao umetupatia sisi hatuwezi hama kwa serikali. Hapa Dondori hakuna kitu kingine wanajua, ni hiyo shamba system. Na tunashukuru sana kwa sababu umetuwezesha, umeweza kutatua hayo.
Now, the Mater Hospital has officially launched its 2025 Mater Heart Run Marathon with the ambitious goal of raising 200 million shillings to support the treatment of children suffering from heart diseases. The marathon, a nationwide initiative which will take place across several counties, including Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu and Nyeri. The funds raised will directly benefit the hospital's cardiac program, which has provided life-saving surgeries and treatments to over 3,000 children since its inception in 1995. The initiative is focused on helping children from disadvantaged backgrounds access critical health care.
There's been a huge impact of the cardiac program and the Mater Heart Run, because when these babies and the children come to us, usually they're sickling, they've been in and out of hospital. Their quality of life is just very different. And then they generally undergo a huge transformation once we've done surgery, once we've done intervention, and you can see that they thrive.
We dream of anticipated success of 2025 Mater Heart Run through your unwavering support that has helped us to live to the mission of the Sisters of Mercy and make God's mercy a reality. A total of 443 children have benefited. From this, we have 101 who underwent open heart surgery and 332 who underwent closed heart surgery.
And with that story of the Mater Heart Run, we're taking a short break here on Tonight. When we come back, we have the stories from business and sports, and later on, the News Guide. Stay tuned for that.
Experience brilliance like never before with Skyworth, a global leader in advanced affordable technology since 1988. From stunning OLED TVs to premium fridges, soundbars and washing machines, we bring you cutting-edge technology, unmatched efficiency and lasting value. Celebrate smart living this season with exclusive offers across our full range. Our products are available in all our dealers and supermarkets across the country. This is the Skyworth Easter Bonanza at leading supermarkets.
Kazi gani tena hii?
Hebu kwanza tuhakikishe insurance yako ni halali. Wewe unachukua tu karatasi unabandika Unajua hii sasa ni police case wewe. Shuka.
Ashiki simu.
The customer you're trying to reach is not available.
Don't find yourself in such situations. Verify your insurance sticker before you drive. Dial *352# or download Bima Yangu app to verify.
Usibahatishe. Thibitisha pap.
KCSE graduates, launch your future, achieve your dreams. Train at Jordan College of Technology, which is a brand trusted by employers locally and internationally. We train highly marketable courses in engineering, journalism, ICT, catering, tourism, hair and beauty, medical, fashion and interior design, business, short courses and driving. We take pride in providing quality education, state-of-the-art facilities, comprehensive programs, top-notch faculty, career support and vibrant campus life. Apply now for our ongoing May Grand Intake and train with the best. Visit us at our new ultra-modern campus plus Jordan Towers, Thika Town. Jordan College of Technology, the leading TVET and medical institution in Kenya.
Tumedrop the hottest snack game na Cadbury Lunch Bar. Imetengenezwa na layers of peanuts, crisped rice, wafer na caramel, coated na Cadbury chocolate. Nunua Lunch Bar and get much more.
Shughulikia your back to school cash na Copbank. Ndio huu mwaka usishinde umekram namba ya bazaar. Lipa your kids school fees by paying directly via M-Pesa paybill 400-222. You can also pay for shopping, books and uniforms using your Copbank ATM card. Get easy access to instant personal and business loans through M-Cop Cash App or *667# and top up pocket money into your child's Cop prepaid card. Back to school payments have never been simpler thanks to Copbank. Cooperative Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Chinos from 5,600 shillings. Only cause span yarn with stretch. Pre-washed, color fast and shrink proof so they last longer. The only chinos to choose.
My God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus cried out while he was on the cross.
That impostor said he would rise from the dead after 3 days.
And on the third day, he rose.
He's not there.
Go and tell my disciples I am risen.
The Master has risen. I saw him. I saw him with my own eyes.
Watch the complete story on Viusasa.
The Lord is coming. The Lord will return.
Ukishatoka kwa molding machine naenda kwa maji, final cooling. After final cooling sasa unafanya quality check. Angalia kama product iko sawa.
Your kids are my children. And I will do anything to make you happy.
At Global Tilapia, from the clean waters of Lake Victoria, enjoy crispy fish fingers, tasty fish nuggets, convenient ready-to-eat fish and juicy fish balls. Taste the difference.
In business, the Scrap Metal Dealers Association is up in arms over the government's recent decision to allow the importation of low-cost scrap metal into the country. The association says the move is not only unfair but poses a serious threat to local businesses that depend on the trade of domestically sourced scrap. Dennis Otieno has more.
So you're appealing the government.
Addressing the media in Nairobi, the association warned that the influx of foreign scrap could lead to widespread job losses, push down local prices, and undermine the country's recycling efforts.
There has been some import of scrap that has been happened, some import of raw material, new material like steel billets and steel products that has been flooding this country, affecting the metal recycle industry. These people are bringing in without duty, without proper duty, and yet the scrap metal dealers, the metal recycle industry is being taxed heavily. Therefore, it's very quite hard to compete with the imports.
The association further cautioned that the decision could deter investment in the local recycling sector, an industry they say is critical for both environmental stability and job creation.
Currently, as you're speaking, we have 25,000 metric tons of steel bars that has landed in Mombasa, which is obviously coming to flood the market. And therefore, we are appealing to the government to stop these imports.
In March this year, the government, through the Scrap Metal Council, announced the automation of import and export permit processes for scrap metal. Officials say the move is aimed at enhancing efficiency and facilitating cross-border trade. However, the association is urging the government to reconsider its stance. Instead, they are calling for supportive measures and incentives to strengthen the domestic scrap metal industry.
That our government does not allow scrap dealers from Kenya to export their scrap to other areas. We are only restricted to Kenya. So it has been affecting us because the same government is allowing scrap from out in a big way. But now it has now come to affect the whole market to an extent that we don't even have anywhere to sell our scrap anymore.
We want our members to be able to collect their scrap, buy their scrap, and sell their scrap at a profit. Not fluctuatory pricing due to the market forces that are being determined by the imports, cheap imports.
While government representatives are yet to formally respond, sources indicate that the decision to open up imports was driven by increasing pressure from manufacturing firms, grappling with limited supply and high prices of locally sourced scrap. The standoff highlights the growing tension between industrial growth policies and protection of small and medium-sized enterprises that form the backbone of the local economy. The dealers are now lobbying for access to export markets as a lifeline to sustain their businesses. Dennis Otieno, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza has pushed back against President William Ruto's assertion that control of the road maintenance levy should remain with the national government. Speaking in his county, the governor now says that counties must receive a share of the levy to support road maintenance at the devolved level. His remarks adding fuel to the growing standoff between the Council of Governors and the national government over control of the multi-billion shilling fund. Here's Omboi Wangoi with the details.
The Road Maintenance Levy Fund has become one of the most hotly contested revenue streams in the country. A foolproof cash cow, the levy pulls in close to 100 billion shillings every year through a collection of 25 shillings per litre of fuel. Already, 7 of the 25 shillings has been securitized by the Kenya Roads Board. This portion has been sold to a private entity for the next 10 years to repay a loan used to clear pending bills owed to road contractors.
Nawaomba waheshimiwa mkubali na sio kwa lazima. Nasema naomba mkubali, tunaweza kupanga hiyo pesa ikaweza kutumika kwa njia nzuri.
But county bosses have for a while now wanted a share of the remainder, citing the burden of maintaining about 70% of the road network. And not even the president's coaxing is making them budge.
Sisi kama viongozi, we want to pronounce ourselves ya kwamba counties also deserve to get a pie on the road maintenance levy ili tuweze kufanya maintenance ya barabara zetu.
The president has rejected this proposal, pointing to concerns over inefficiency in the county level. And Parliament had reinforced this position, citing concerns of misappropriation and corruption by governors.
Kwa sababu sasa hiyo pesa mnachukua mnaenda tengeneza barabara kidogo ya mara kutoka hapa mpaka pale, inanyesha siku moja inaisha yote.
I want to tell our president with all the due respect ya kwamba devolution envisaged mambo maintenance ya barabara inafanywa na counties. We cannot have somebody seated in Nairobi kuja kuamua barabara hapa Sokomoko itakuwa maintained na nani.
Currently, funds from the RMLF are allocated to national road agencies such as the Kenya National Highways Authority, KENHA. Governors have protested this arrangement, arguing it sidelines counties. Wamboi Wangoi, Citizen TV.
Now to another story. Central Bank Governor Dr. Kamau Thuge remains optimistic about the country's economic growth, even amidst the ongoing trade wars and the changing trade policies based on the announcement by the U.S. President on April 9. The IMF has downgraded their focus for global economic growth to 2.8% from the IMF's World Economic Outlook projections. The governor estimates a marginal reduction of the country's growth to about 5.4%. This he attributes to a reduction in local interest rates that will spur activity in the private sector. He spoke to Citizen TV's business editor, Yvonne Okora, on the sidelines of the IMF spring meetings in Washington, D.C.
We had slow down our projection for 2024 to about 4.6 from 5.6 the previous year. And there were certain reasons for that. The high interest rates of commercial banks had slowed down credit to the private sector quite substantially. And in addition to that was the contraction in the construction sector, which we had not seen for a long time. We think that some of these effects will be reversed this year in 2025. We should be able to see more credit to the private sector, and in fact we have seen a turnaround. Credit to the private sector was negative for the 12 months to January and February, and we've seen a small positive in March, and we expect that to continue to increase for the rest of the year.
Now, the State Department for MSME Development, in partnership with other stakeholders, has continued its regional MSME stakeholder fora as part of a national effort to strengthen Kenya's MSME ecosystem. Held across 4 regions, the fora aimed to gather input and foster collaboration for the implementation of the upcoming MSME Policy 2025 and MSME Amendment Act 2025. Stakeholders highlighted the policy's 8 strategic pillars, which include access to finance, infrastructure development, market access, and innovation. The fora mark a crucial step in ensuring that local voices shape policies that empower Kenya's MSMEs to thrive and drive sustainable development.
We have already come up with a document that captures the key issues that affect the operationalization and performance of the MSME, key issues that affect them, and it's become necessary that as required by the law that we subject these issues to public participation, and that's why we are here.
What we want to achieve is that we have a policy that will address the needs of the MSMEs to be more competitive and to be more productive and to be able to contribute well to the Kenyan economy.
Hiyo maneno ya contracts hiyo tutaangazia sana na tuna expect tutaizungumza kwa leo kwa hii public participation, na kama haimo I think it is open forum whereby we shall air and then they will work on it.
Kenyan farmers have been urged to take advantage of the medicinal plant market to grow their income. According to the stakeholders under the medicinal and aromatic plants, a European Union-funded program, the cost of medicinal plants is lower than that of food crops, yet its returns are significantly higher. The global medicinal plant market is projected to hit 44.9 trillion shillings by 2030. The stakeholders have further called for the government to incentivize farmers, allowing them to take advantage of the untapped market.
It's the same medicinal plants the Maasai our people are walking around with. So we just want to commercialize that. Can it be in a proper way that if someone is walking around and, you know, the way they sell them in jars, can we put it in a proper way that you can actually drink and not run away from it? Can we have medicinal plants bars? You know, like you can go somewhere and maybe try to order something to mix with your tea when you know what the nutritional facts are or what the benefits are. So, ni kawaida tu, it's all the things that we've been doing, but can we do it in a proper way?
This call is announced every year. So then and they have several envelopes. The one envelope is focused on Africa. So then you can apply with the partners from Africa. And there are, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 projects each year selected for funding. And our project was funded by the European Commission, Erasmus program, so with the funds 400,000 euro for 3 years. This is for all the partners and should cover all the activities because this is, you know, projected like by each activity what we are doing.
All right, we're taking a short break here on tonight, but I also want to make a clarification or correction here. We earlier on insinuated that Colonel John Njue is over 80 years old. We've learned that he's actually 79 years old because he was born on the 1st of January 1946. We apologize for that. Now we take a short break here. We come back with sports and later on the news gun.